Hey, here we are, Father Steve and Father Bobby from That Day May Be One. See what I wrote down here? Episode what?
11. Number 11.
Number 11. So as you've been watching us, every week we forget some reason why we forget what number we're on. But so anyway, we are at the residence of Dr. Ralph and Tracy Savagno in Hancock. Now, why does Hancock sound familiar to us?
Well, it's a very important town.
It is.
Very important, small little town. They bring up some pretty good people.
I think some of the greatest people in the world have been brought up in this small town. Yep. And anybody wants to know where Hancock, Maryland is, you can actually walk. I'm looking in directions. I'm looking over at West Virginia. You can walk from West Virginia and go to Pennsylvania. If you walk fast, you can make it in 15 minutes. If you're a runner, you can do it in 5.
Yep.
It's the narrowest part of the state of Maryland, but some of the greatest people have come out of there. And what else can we say about it?
They raise up some pretty good priests, too.
Oh, my gosh. Who would that be? Let's see. What's it say on the cup? Father Steve and Father Bobby, Episcopal Priests from the Diocese of Maryland and West Virginia. So that's us. So anyway, so that tells you who we are. I'm the Vicar of St. Andrew's in Clear Spring. We do this every week. And Ditton Rector of St. Thomas's in Hancock, where we are.
I'm the rector of Trinity Episcopal in Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Yep, in the Diocese of West Virginia. And a couple weeks ago, we were at Upper Romney at the Peterkin Center. And about an hour after we got done recording, what happened?
Satan was mad, so he brought a storm in and threw branches down right where we were standing.
It almost destroyed the bridge that was behind us. That was something. Pretty much, and literally an hour after we were done. So we're coming up on Sunday, July 23rd, Pentecost 8. And what was I getting ready to say? Something about recording and something about, I was pre-recording the morning prayer for St. Andrew's for Friday morning prayer. And I think before I signed off, actually I recorded down in St. Thomas's. I recorded St. Thomas's. We do have a live audience, by the way.
Yes.
Tracy Savagno, whose house we're at. She's over here. And anyway, I signed off and I said, hey,
there she is.
There she is. Hey, there she is. So I signed off. So and we'll see you on live stream. I thought, oh no, my wife is going out of town, and she's going out of town with Tracy, and Mother Ann Weatherholt. She's interim rector at Church of Epiphany in Odenton, Maryland, the Diocese of Maryland, and also Ann's sister-in-law Becky Weatherholt, and they're leaving tomorrow. Early tomorrow, going to Stony Lake, Michigan, and but anyway, my wife, she operates the live stream equipment at St. Andrews, so we will not be live streaming at St. Andrews this week. Anyway, so okay, we want to get into it.
Sure.
So here's what we're going to do. I am so tired of Genesis.
We skip. Do you want to hear Genesis? Come to church on Sunday.
Yeah, you want to hear Genesis, and so if you want to know what the Genesis reading is for Sunday. I'm looking at these lights. I'm getting blinded.
They are kind of bright.
I'm getting blinded. I'm blinded by the light. What was that? Who did that song?
ELO? No, Manfred Mann Band.
Yep. Yeah. Blinded by the light.
Oh, we're giving our age away.
Oh my. So
it was good music.
If you want to know which one it is for the Genesis, it's Genesis 28 verses 10 through 19a, not to be confused with 19b, 19a. Yeah. And then Psalm, which we hardly ever do the Psalms in this format, Psalm 139 verses 1 through 12, and then 22 to 24. And then Romans 8, 12 to 25. And then Matthew 13, 24 to 30, and 36 to 43. So we're going to look at Romans and Matthew. And, this may answer a few questions. I tell you, if I think about it, I'm going to bring it up about somebody that's at this point is really mad at God because of some things that happened to their lives, and I may get into our discussion. But so do you have any sunspots in your eyes right now from the lights?
I keep looking down because it's
I
like LED headlights. They just blind you.
Yeah, it's like it's like the deer.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, this is going to be rough for you driving home with you.
I'll be all over the road.
Maybe we should put our sunglasses on.
I'll get pulled over.
I got him out there.
Father, have you been drinking?
Yeah, no, I'm just been blinded by the light. You know, just download the song and just play it the whole way home. Okay, so wait a minute, we don't want to look at Genesis.
We don't want to look at Genesis.
Nah, I'm just tired of Genesis.
Jump over to
let's go to Romans. Right there.
All right.
Can you see it? I mean, if I look at it, I'm just like, I see over their work because I've got these blind spots. Go ahead.
I've got it. So the background for Romans today, Paul encouraged Christians to allow themselves to be led by the Spirit of God and not by their former sinful yearnings. Paul claimed that all of creation was waiting for redemption, the outcome of being saved from sin or evil. He referred to a future time when the world would be in harmony with itself, and Paul encouraged us to wait with hope and patience.
Hope and patience. Hope and patience. So some of these questions we have are pretty much, easy to answer. Yeah. But even for a priest, it's easy to answer. Even for a couple of boys from Hancock.
We can even figure it out.
Hey, by the way, can you see our cups? Look, see what it says? And for an extra bonus, it's on the other side as well.
Yeah. Double-sided.
You can fake drinking out of your cup. You don't have anything in it. It is water, by the way.
I'm good, thank you.
I say, when you see 3 or 4 Episcopalians, there's bound to be a fifth somewhere,
yes, there
right?
is.
Okay, first question. According to Romans 8, 12, 13, what must you do if you want to live? Okay, so pretty much 12 and 13. What must you do? Live by the Spirit.
Live by the Spirit.
Live by the Spirit. Pretty much live by the Spirit. And this is a carry on from last week.
Last week, yeah.
I talked about the tug of war that goes on inside us between the Holy Spirit and the flesh. There's that tug of war that goes on in between us, and I mentioned this in my sermon. And to live by the Holy Spirit, and so that's a tug of war that goes on with us in our lives, as sinful creatures as we are.
And I think back up to last week as we talked about the soil. And I think one of the things I touched on this past week in my sermon was, as we help each other to become good soil, so that we can live by the Spirit. Right. We're not in this alone.
No, we're not. We're not in this alone. Yeah. And I think I've said this before. I always say to people, you know what happened to Barabbas? I said, you know ever what happened to Barabbas? He got set free and Jesus got crucified. I always say, well, every time you get up in the morning, look in the mirror and you'll see Barabbas.
That's true.
That's who we were set free.
We were set free. Exactly.
Sinful as we are, we were set free. Okay, so Romans 12 to 13, 15. What is the result of our sinful nature? Well, we'll die.
We'll die.
There'll
be 2 deaths.
2 deaths. And 15, for you did not receive the spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption. So we will die in our sinful nature, but we know who took that away, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, man, it's a nice breeze coming across here.
Does feel good.
Doesn't that feel good? Yeah. I was out on the motorcycle last night. So I went to my Harley owner group meeting. See, Tracy, we bounce off so we might be just right in the middle of something, and all of a sudden it's almost like a McCarty thing. I tell you what, most of my all my uncles are deceased now, but you could be talking about something, and all of a sudden the conversation would just go that way.
Left turn, yep.
So, but anyway, I was on the motorcycle last night and came out of my Harley Owners Group meeting, and you ever see? Oh, by the way, you ever seen the movie Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds?
The Birds.
They're coming after us.
Yeah.
I just remember the guy lighting a cigarette out by the gas pump. So anyway, I was talking about the motorcycle and talking about the wind coming in, the storm. And of all the nights for me to take and ride my motorcycle through, I didn't get caught in it. But I couldn't. Why is nobody riding their motorcycle? Normally it's a Harley Owners Group meeting. Normally it's a lot of people riding their motorcycles. One night I ride mine, and everybody's in what we call riding cage. They're in their cars. When we came out of the meeting, we got out of the meeting. It was a short meeting, about 7:30. All of a sudden this wind was coming in. I thought I better get home Well, I'm going to get caught in this rain.
Yeah.
But you know what? I never got caught in the rain until I bought a rain suit. So, but anyway, we're saying that because we're recording outside and the birds. So, I encourage you to see the movie Alfred Hitchcock. Is the red light supposed to be on?
Yeah, that's recording, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope.
Yeah, we're watching. Okay. Yeah, it's opposite the other way. So anyway, watch the movie The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock, and you'll never buy a pet parakeet again. Okay. All right, here we go. Number 4 question?
I think so.
What future freedom do verses 19 through 24 describe? What future freedom? Verses 19 through 21. So let's see. For the creation wait the eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. And go to 21. For the creation was subject to futility, not of its own will, but that of the will of the one who was subjected
it. Yeah.
Subjected. Yeah, I just got these blind spots in my eyes. Okay, I hope the creation of itself will set free from its bondage to decay and will obtain the freedom of the glory of the calling of God.
Say it again, Paul.
I think it's talking about patience, really, right?
Yeah.
It's talking about patience.
Yeah.
That the Spirit is the patience. And I think we're going to get into that more when we talk about Matthew, about the patience. You got some highlighter there.
Yeah, I had just been going in, at the beginning, it's talking about we are debtors, not living to the flesh, like Paul's been talking about these past 2 or 3 weeks. We've
right.
been hearing from Paul in Romans that we're all led by the Spirit of God and are children of God. And when he says you did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, so is that describing our relationship now as we've become children of God, that we're no longer slave. It's not a spirit of slavery that would send us back into fear of everything.
Well, and back into fear and back into sin. And we have so many people that live in the fear, or they're so angst about many things that do not have the Spirit. Right?
Yeah.
They don't have the Spirit. So they live in this angst, and in this world we have a lot of people that are living in a lot of anger.
Oh yeah.
And fear leads to anger. Unchecked. I mean, fear. It's good to have fear. I mean, it can be one of the things that the flesh. We should have the fear of certain things, to be cognizant of things that are not safe for us. But to fall back into fear is almost like to take and say, well, God, I know that you love me and that, but do I really trust in you?
Yeah.
That's why I see it. Do I really trust?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Where are we at?
No, we didn't do that.
We didn't do the first fruits of the Spirit means, what's the first fruit of the Spirits mean? And we can skip 2 Corinthians, but we look at Romans 8:16 and 8:23. So it is that the Spirit bearing a witness with our spirit that we are children of God. Then we look at verse 23. It says, and not only the creation, but we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit grown inwardly while we wait for the adoption and redemption of our bodies. Well, that almost sounds like the parousia, the second coming, and what we have to look for in the future. Thoughts?
Hope. I was just trying to reread again here. So, but we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit. Did it continue on? Grown inwardly while we wait for adoption, the redemption of our bodies. Whew.
That means after we transition.
Yes. Yeah. I remember in seminary, I think we had a whole, I don't know, we all got into talking about once we die and all this, are we going to have this same body. Some were like, yeah, it'll be. It's like, I don't want the same body because, at the time I was really heavily going through my bladder cancer stuff. And I was like, I don't want this body.
I don't want it, right.
I want something better. And another group was like, oh, we'll have heavenly bodies that won't be like this. And then we got all down in about this resurrection of the body. And it's like, was it really going to look like this? I think the professor finally chimed in with the group. Okay, so let's talk about an actual resurrection of the body and what does that look like? And I thought, well, when Jesus was resurrected, yes, well, they didn't recognize him. The guys on the road didn't recognize him. They were talking with him. So I'm thinking, okay, so, and then he can just show up in a locked room. So I'm thinking, all right, so we kind of look human, but not, I don't know. But just, I think I just kind of skip about the redemption of our bodies, just the fact that the first fruits of the Spirit, is that all the believers are then the first fruits of the Spirit?
Those who have died waiting for the second coming is what you... Yeah, we talk about this, the resurrection, and, I don't know if you've ever seen, there's pictures on Facebook of a tombstone of a child walking out of their wheelchair. They're reaching up, and actually they're not crippled anymore. They're no longer in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
No longer in a wheelchair. Yeah. I've shared this story many times, and I share it in a sermon. I can't interpret dreams, but I had this dream it's more vivid to me. So anyway, I show up at this Bible camp, or like a like Peterkin, or like our Claggett, and it's similar to that. So I show up there, and it's kind of dark, and it's like the room. So anyway, I said, well, we need a Bible. We didn't have a Bible. So, but there's a bookstore. So I said, okay, so I'm going to go down to this bookstore. It's kind of dark where we are, and I go down to this bookstore. This is all my dream. So I walk up to this bookstore, and there's a lot of light in the bookstore. And on the other side of this glass door was my mother.
Oh, wow.
And she is so beautiful. And it was like, somebody said, did I touch her? I said, no, I never opened up the door, that she would stay on the other side of this glass door, but it was so much light. And they said, well, what did she say? And I said, I don't think she really said anything, but she smiled at me, and basically that smile was, hey, everything's okay. And they said, well, did you get the Bible? And I said, no, I forgot all about the Bible. Yeah. I did. I forgot to get the Bible. I went back and shared that story. So, yeah.
Cool.
So, by the way, that's not the dinner bell. If you're all
chow time.
That's the indication that we move on to the next question.
Oh, yes.
Okay. What do you imagine be like? Okay. Now this is a good one.
Yeah.
What do you imagine it would be like when all creation is reconciled to God?
I think this goes right into what we're about to talk about in Matthew.
Yes.
With the wheat and the weeds.
Yep, the darnel, the weeds.
Yes.
Right. So, basically, short answer to that, it'll be great.
If you believe, yeah.
If you believe, it'll be right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when we go on to next?
All right.
Let's go on to oh my gosh, look at all that chicken scratch.
A lot of writing over here from Matthew.
Yeah.
Which is good.
So, well, let's see. Let's do the lead-in for Matthew here.
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute, I'm on the previous page. There you go.
All right.
Hey, by the way, I can see now. I guess because we're not staring at the light as much.
No, just keep looking down.
Anybody wants to know why we have, it's my idea to have these bright lights, because we recorded outside one time, and we were like dark, and it was back, it was everything, and so we'll get some, use instead of the studio lights, use these bright lights. Well, these bright lights could take and land a 747. I guarantee you that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Is the Hancock Airport still in operation?
Well, yeah, they use it as a drag strip.
Oh, okay.
I think it is an operation. Actually, I've landed there. When I had a plane, I landed there several times, and landed when I didn't have the plane, a 150, a 152, and a 172. I've landed there, and then at one time, my father-in-law and myself, another guy owned a Cessna Piper Cherokee PA-28 161, which is a low wing, and I used to fly into that airport.
Oh yeah. I remember, was it Hale Andrews?
Hale Andrews.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
He used to have the bi wing.
Had the bi wing. He would do all the stunts.
Yeah, we'd just lay out in the yard and watch him. Oh, sorry, reminiscing.
Yeah. Here in Hancock, by the way, just as a refresher, those who have never come to Hancock, we have a convenience store up here called Sheets's.
Sheets's.
Now, if you go to Hagerstown, I don't know why they call it Sheets. It's Sheets's.
Sheets's.
It's Sheets's. Go and go to Sheets's and get a cup of coffee. Oh, by the way, I'm drinking water in our cup. Look at that. Look at that. 1995, you send it in. We'll take and send that with you with a prayer towel. Right?
Did you sell cars ever?
No, no. But
I did because I did for a little
no,
while.
I told you what happened when my '69 Dodge. I changed the carburetor in it. I couldn't figure out why it was blowing out black smoke. I put the carburetor in upside down. Yep, I have '69 Dodge. I had black smoke coming in the back. It was all across the bumper, the trunk, and all. I thought, what is wrong with this car? I just put a carburetor on it. And anyway, I went to a mechanic and said, well, sometimes you come to a mechanic to get these things done. I thought, I worked at a gas station. I pumped gas and put air in the tires, changed light bulbs. I thought I knew what I was doing. Then one time somebody came in to get a headlight. And the old headlights, you had to take it.
Yeah.
Well, guess what I did? I unscrewed the adjustment screw, and the headlight was facing this way. So I think they went out and got a repair order after that.
Don't ask Father Steve to help you fix anything on your vehicle.
Yep. All right, so anyway,
all right.
Matthew.
Background on Matthew's reading. The parable of the weeds or tares was very easy for the Jewish people to understand. The tares were weeds known as darnel. It was not unheard of for the enemy of a farmer to cast darnel seeds into a field, a practice forbidden by Roman law. Darnel looks very much like wheat when it is growing. The farmer had to wait until the harvest time to remove it because its roots wound around the roots of the wheat. If the darnel was pulled out of the ground, the wheat would be uprooted as well. Women were hired to remove the darnel seed before the wheat was ground into flour. Darnel could be recognized by the slate gray color of its grain and had to be removed because its seeds are mildly poisonous, having a narcotic effect and a bitter taste. That's a pretty mean enemy.
I would say so. You think if somebody else has done something to somebody that's kind of like, very mean. Get back to cars, people used to put sugar in your gas tank.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That just ruins the whole car.
Yeah.
That ruins the whole car. And oh my. While we're talking about putting stuff in the car, I said I used to take and pump gas. I had a guy come in the gas station where I was working. It was in high school, and I don't know. He said, "I'll take $2 worth of gas." Well, $2 in, gas was 55 cents a gallon, whatever. So he's watching me, trying to find the gas cap. Now it wasn't behind the license plate where they were.
Yeah.
I can't remember what kind of car it was, but this was, I think it was dangerous. He finally, after I walked around the car, maybe 10 times around the car trying to find the gas cap, he got out and said, "Here, I'll show you where it is, young man." Took the left rear turn signal, blinker, and light, and tilted out. The gas cap was behind the...
I have seen a picture of that vehicle. I can't remember what kind it was, but I have seen that.
It was probably somebody on the street, Virginia Avenue, Hagerstown, taking a picture of me trying to pump gas in it. That's where you probably saw it at, right? I literally walked around that car, and he's sitting there, he's laughing. I was like, well, this, But I worked at, we had to. It no matter how much gas you got, we had to wash the windows and everything. It was really, and actually it's the same gas station where I met my wife. She came in and got gas. I got to share this story. Well, I actually started watching her in middle school, but anyway, then we ended up going to separate high schools. I went to Williamsport. She went to Williamsport, and I went to South High. Well, we had self-service pumps at that gas station. Guess who got full service of self-service pumps? And then one time she came in there. It was on a Friday. I was working. I got off around 6 o'clock, and I said, "What are you doing?" "Well, we hadn't started dating yet." She says, "Well, I'm going out on a date with somebody, and I knew the person was going out on a date with. I didn't really care for him. So anyway, she said, but I can't figure out why she's driving her dad's truck. She said, I've turned on it, and the turn signal doesn't blink, it just stays. Well, you know what it means, the bulb's burn out, right?
Burn out, yeah.
I said, well, stay here. I said, I know you got things you got to do, and I said, I will see if I got a bulb back here in the back, and I'll change your bulb, and then you can get on your way and get on your date. Well, I found that bulb within like 1 minute.
You waited, didn't you?
I had it in my pocket for 45 minutes, and I told her I cannot find the bulb. I said, I can't find the bulb. I pumped her gas. I said, listen, I can't find the bulb that you need for your truck. Basically, what I was doing was trying to keep her going on that date. That was 1976.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been together since 1976. So anyway, I kept that bulb in my pocket. And said,
you should have kept that bulb for eternity.
Well, I guess I kept her for eternity.
Yeah.
That was my plan, right? Okay, so anyway, get my hair out of my way and make sure everything looks proper. Okay, so let's go with that first one. What happened to my readings here? Here they are.
Yeah.
Who sowed the seeds in the field?
Well, in the parable, of course, you guys, easy to see, it's the master.
Mm-hmm.
The master is the one sowing the seeds, and I've always wondered about that. But I think we'll get more into it in a bit here. And say something.
Where are we? Anything else when it came to the master and?
Well, actually, it just said, wait.
Son of Man.
No, the king.
The one who sows the seed.
Someone who sowed.
The good seed is sown by Jesus, the Son of Man.
Yeah, but the slaves come and ask him, Master, did you sow good seed? Yeah. But anyway.
So what does the field represent? The world.
The world.
The world.
Mm-hmm.
The world we live in. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't, I don't plan on going to Mars.
No, it's the world we live in. And it's something how this is right behind the other seed story we heard last week.
The good soil and
the good soil.
Among the thorns, that on the path.
Mm-hmm. And the rocky soil.
And the rocky soil.
So this week it must be all pretty good soil.
Must be pretty good soil. They turned it over and fertilized it really good, and it's good soil.
And is all the Jesus' parable, you have to think about the people of that time. It was just an agricultural society.
Oh yeah.
So, people could relate to these parables really easy because that was their lives.
Well, they were fishermen or they were agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Now this goes into another thing, the symbol of the state of Maryland. Now, a lot of people don't know that, like the symbol we see on government buildings, on government cars, is actually the reverse side, the back side of the symbol. There's a front and a back. Mm-hmm. The front side is, I think it's Lord Calvert on a horse on the beach, riding a horse on the beach. He saddled up one of those wild ponies down there in Chincoteague. Yeah, and he got kicked off really quick. So that's why we don't use that side of the coin. But anyway, when I retired from state police, and one of my instructors one time, I think was in service, said, think about this for the Maryland symbol. You got a fisherman
mm-hmm.
and a farmer,
mm-hmm.
right? Well, the farmer's holding a shovel, and the fisherman's holding a dead fish. The one holding the shovel was going to bury the fish. Hey, don't forget to tip your waiter. We'll be here all week, all right? Yeah, that's the act that killed vaudeville. Yeah,
that fish is fertilizer.
That's right. Tracy just said. Yeah, so basically, it's the fisherman and the farmer.
Mm-hmm.
That's the symbol. The two men standing there. They look like pilgrims. They do, and they got knickerbockers on. They're wearing knickerbockers. One time we were talking about a group of us from another church I served. The Diocese of Maryland has a golf tournament, and we thought about entering ourselves, but we were going to try. I'll show up in plaid knickerbockers like the old golfers. We didn't do that yet, but we might.
You should.
Okay. So anyway, we're going. So yeah, so we're talking about the Jesus knew who he's talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Taught the fish in agriculture, and they knew about the good soil.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you explain it in the parables.
Yep.
All right.
Let's see.
Well, we're talking about the devil. Okay, the good seed and the weeds. So we have Jesus is the good seed, and the devil's the bad seed.
Yep.
Pretty simple, right?
Yep.
I don't know if you think about this one, unless you have more on that one. What does the harvest represent? This is what I have.
Yeah.
The second coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Second coming. The second coming. And the angels are the reapers. I'm just kind of moving ahead on this because this is going to get into a really good discussion here just momentarily. Not that we haven't had a really good discussion. You know, we've talked about carburetors on the cars. We've talked about how I met my
your wife.
how I pumped gas and all that. I mean, these are really good discussions because they make it very relevant to what we're speaking about. And we talked about the drag strip in the airport. Okay, back
to this about the good seed and the weeds. And we were talking about the bad seed was the darnel, I think it's called. And just something else I'd read about that. It said that as it would grow, that the wheat with all the grain on it would actually start to bend over, and the darnel would be the stuff standing up straight. But still, it would have made it easy to pull, but at the same time, as it says, you're going to whip all the good stuff out
Right,
too.
and that's why the roots would grow underneath the wheat, and by pulling that up, you pull up the good. So
what does that say about all the people we interact with every day that are as we are judgmental people as we are, those, people are wrong and they're bad and,
Well, I think basically Jesus said, ride it out.
Ride it out.
Ride it out because what you don't see now, I will address that.
And
Can I ask you?
yes, you can ask a question.
Tracy.
I think this is, I like this parable, and a lot of it makes perfect sense, but I think about the weeds and the wheat being good people and the bad people, but I think that it makes more sense when you talk about people, because in the real world, we have a chance to have an impact on those people who, and not to label them, but, if we're saying good and bad, in a world where we both exist, good people have a chance to have an impact or to pass the spirit along to the bad.
We do have that ability to I want to say almost like cross-pollinate to the weed, and I think also with the darnel, I'm thinking there's also processes that what we might not think in this parable is that by giving the darnel a chance, maybe we do have a chance to turn them into wheat.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you, did you read my notes? Because I think I had something written about that. My only, not problem, but concern was that with this parable, it doesn't show that there's any possibility that the darnel could change to wheat. Yet, as we were just talking about, tagging on with last week's, we are not just one soil. We can change. And in this parable, it doesn't sound like there's an opportunity for it to change.
That it provides the opportunity for the wheat to be stronger because it has to fight for its, the nutrients that it needs. So maybe
Unless the focus of the parable at this time isn't about the sowing, which was last week, the sowing in the soil, and this week is about when the end does get here, and the harvest has come.
Right. Well, that's because he talks about the good wheat will be bound and the other chaff will be tossed
into the fire.
But it does. Well, that goes into the other one. The angels are going to be the reapers, and then what happens is the wheat and the weeds are going to be separated. They'll be separated, and this gets into the point of all the violence we see in the world, and people living just for themselves, and people that are so violent. It seems more violent now, I guess, because social media. We know exactly what's going on around the world in any moment. But this may. People say, well, how can God love me when He allows and I know someone personally dealing with this now, they lost their granddaughter in a car accident, and apparently the person's really, really mad at God.
Well, and I have encountered people like this, too, that are mad at God about a situation. I mean, I probably was like that back when I was 16, when my dad
When your
died.
dad,
Died at first. But over the years, I've just come to accept, this is not a perfect world.
Right.
It's, someone asked, a doctor friend of mine was upset about kids getting sick. And he's like, where is God in all this? I said, where are you in all this?
Yeah.
There's going to be sickness in the world. I said, could you imagine if we lived in a world that was perfect?
Is that right? Back when my oldest son was in middle school, I think he was in 6th grade, the teacher asked my wife not to review a book that she was thinking about getting permission. And actually, they had a movie. It was called The Giver. I don't know, Tracy, if you ever heard of the book called The Giver. They came out with a movie with that, and basically these people lived in a world where nobody had any emotions. There was no color. There was none of this, and basically nobody really felt sadness and all that. They had felt no sadness. They had no feelings. But the giver, but this one boy, they're like tossing a ball back and forth, but the one boy looks at it and says, he sees something like there's a color to that. So anyway, this community they live in, they have the giver. Apparently, one person has to remember what it's like to have feelings. But the point is that there was no love or anything in that community. There was no heartache. Somebody died, they died.
Yeah.
And then he found out that this boy that ended up being the giver, he found out his little brother or something wasn't perfect, and they were going to be dispatched. They would actually kill people.
Oh.
And his little brother was destined to be that, and he escaped with him away from that world. So if we, one of it goes into something else I just saw. Why does God give us animals to love that only be here for so long? Well, he gave them for us to love, right?
Yeah, to love.
To love. And what Jesus says, my kingdom is not of this world.
No.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that we don't know about.
Yeah, there's a lot we don't know.
There's a lot that we don't know, and I use this. We talk about transition, the Spirit, and everybody will make that transition. But there's more people that are there than are here.
Yes, yeah, it's true.
By sheer numbers, there's more people that have transitioned that are here. And our faith. And our faith teaches when we go to the communion rail, the communion of saints.
Communion of saints, yes.
So we're not alone. Yeah,
That's good.
it's good.
That's good.
Yeah. So we're to live together until the end. I think that's the part. And Tracy says that we do have the opportunity to turn this Darnell into something good. And I like to think that they'll say, well, when's the second coming going to happen? Well, we have no idea, but maybe God, maybe Jesus is waiting for us to take and turn all the Darnell to good wheat before, because He doesn't want to lose anybody.
God doesn't want to lose anybody.
God doesn't want to lose anybody.
He loves everybody.
Loves everybody. Where are we at? We want to skip the last one, and then.
Okay.
In what way can we apply the warning in this parable to our lives? Well, be prepared. Anything else?
I like the Boy Scout motto: be prepared.
Be prepared. Yep. Be prepared.
Yeah. The second part of that reading too, it kind of, Jesus tells about who is what, but he doesn't mention who the slaves are. He answered, the one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man, the field is the world, and the good seed are the children of the kingdom, the weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil, and the harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Well, who were the slaves in the story?
Okay, which verse are you going to start on?
Let's see. Then he left the crowds, went into the houses.
Plenty of parables. And the one
One sows, there you go.
Weeds are the children of the evil, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the age and reapers angels. I don't know.
And the slaves of the household came and said to him.
Ones who would gather the harvest, though?
Well, according to the background information, they would hire women to come and harvest. On the little background that I read.
No, because that goes back to verse 28. And Emmy has done this. The slaves said to him, "Then who do you want? Then do you want us to go and gather them?"
Yeah. The only thing I could get from any of the stuff I read is the disciples were there with him.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the slaves in this scenario were the disciples,
Right.
or those who were believing. It just didn't get listed, because as I was reading through there, it's like, oh, it lists them. Hey, what about slaves? Who were they in the story? And it doesn't. They don't get mentioned.
Well, we all could be the slaves.
Yeah.
And the
It-
women are the ones who are gathering.
They're the angels.
I
Ah,
think maybe we need to look at the original language and see whether
that always.
I had a professor in seminary said, what do you say? Translation is interpretation. Go to the Greek.
Go to the Greek.
Go to the Greek.
I always go to the Greek and look back and, oh, okay.
I was doing that one time in a sermon, and I was referring to Greek, and I looked out, and I think one of my parishioners who normally falls asleep after the second word, I think he was asleep. I said, okay, so I'm not going to go to the Greek anymore, but I'm going to go to. Just joking, everybody. Anyway.
If there's any other priests that check this out, I know you guys experience it too, especially in the summer when it's really warm in there. And I remember being out in the congregation too, trying to stay awake.
Yeah. What was that movie? You had me at hello. You had me asleep in the name of the Father and the Son, and Holy Ghost. Boom, they're asleep. They're asleep. You had me at that.
I have one more question.
Yes.
In this gospel and in the one last week, there's the comment, "Let any who have ears."
That any with ears hear.
But I think those are the only two parables that seem to have that statement. Why is that? Is there a reason?
I think he's trying to warn the people. You got to see where this gospel falls in. And he's trying to, he's starting to get this emphasis, hey, I'm not going to be here very long.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to understand this. Does that make sense? I want you to understand it. And he's getting to the point where, angst is starting to catch in with him, because they're not fully absorbing that. Of course, he's speaking in parables, but you also have to understand that Matthew's gospel, most of them were Jewish. They were a Jewish audience.
Mm-hmm.
He's speaking to a Jewish audience, and he's talking about they're still stuck on the 613 laws, the mitzvot. So he's saying, listen, you that have ears, listen to what I got to say.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's why they specifically asked him to explain this parable? Because they've gotten that admonition from him, you've got ears. Like, do you think that's why they asked for him to explain it?
Well, I was just thinking, there's some like this one where they've asked him to explain, and I think last week's they didn't even ask him to explain it; he just did.
He went right into the explanation.
And like you said, you have to look at who Matthew was writing to, and the fact that he's writing this 50, 70 years afterwards. And you wonder, did he say, let those with ears hear, or, that both of them, or who knows?
Yeah, I think, was he writing it for his own emphasis, or was he trying to say verbatim what Jesus said?
Mm-hmm. Because that's a long time.
That's a long
afterwards
time. That's a long time
something.
for, because we talk, whether we say Jesus, was born in 6 BC and, he was 33 and he died sooner, was it 33 AD or Common Era, whichever we want to use, And then we look at the Apostle Paul later coming on, and you have all the, the writings.
Yeah.
So was the emphasis like the deuterocanonical books that letters that Paul attributed to Paul? Well, they knew that wasn't Paul's way of writing, but somebody knew how he would speak.
Yeah.
So did they put their own little emphasis in there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting. We can look at the commentary on that.
Yeah.
Let's see about that.
Things for you to look up while you're going through these questions.
Yeah. All right. What do we think here?
There's the bell.
Oh, that's almost time for the school bus to come pick us up. 66C, Bus Mitchell. Last day of school, fudgesicles. I look forward to that. Oh, I got to tell you this really. When I lived up on Central Road in Hancock, elementary school, I remember this. We were the last pickup in the morning and the first pickup to school in the evening. So we were the last ones to come in the morning, which was really good because I could watch cartoons a little bit longer. And then when we got picked up at the elementary school, I was in kindergarten through 12th grade rode the same bus. But we had to, the only ones that were allowed to sit in the back of the bus was the older ones.
The older ones, yeah.
Yeah, and Bus Mitchell, you just knew that look when he looked up in that mirror. You just didn't want to be doing anything wrong. Yeah.
And my bus driver, Homer Stoner.
Oh, Homer.
Yep.
Did he ever take you on a fire coal on the bus?
No, but I rode with him several times once we moved from Main Street to High Street. And when I was 16, I was in the fire department. So I was always the first one there, living next door. And Homer would pull up in that chief's car, and I'd have the doors open. He'd say, "Come on." I'd jump in with him, and off we'd go, and the other guys would follow,
So on the last day of school, since you had Homer Stoner as your bus driver, did you all get flowers instead of fudgesicles?
No, all I ever got was a trip to the principal's office.
Who was the principal?
At that time, I can see him, but I can't think of his
Mr.
name.
Shriver?
No, he was the vice principal then. I can't think of his name.
I can remember mine.
Mr. Kearns is,
I remember when he was the vice principal. Yeah.
but I don't remember who the principal was.
Yeah.
Everybody's. Oh, it's time to change sound. Now the kids just say what they want to say to the school administrators.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I tell you what, I think we're done for this. We're on the front porch of Dr. Ralph and Tracy Savagno. We were going to set our camera up a different way, but the lighting just didn't turn out as the way we wanted to, and we would have been like a silhouette, even with these bright lights.
Yeah.
And then, but after we get done recording today, we're all going to go have our retinas rechecked. I do have an eye doctor appointment here at the end of the month, and I think the eye doctor is going to take a look at my eye and say, "What in the world happened to your eyes? Were you staring at an eclipse or what?"
Burned out.
Well, I went to this eye doctor here a couple years ago, and he's looking at my eyes. Well, first of all, the two of them I went to, this is kind of a little weird, but he looked at my eyes and he said, "You had your blood pressure checked lately?" And I'm thinking, wait a minute now, it's really good, but I don't know why you asked that. Then the next one I had no sense of humor. So anyway, my eyes I tell you, if my eyes were dilated right now, I'd be like in tremendous pain. But anyway, I was like that. So I'd have a welder's glass mask on. But anyway, so the 2 years ago, I'm waiting in that room for a long time. I didn't have my phone. I couldn't see it anyway because my pupils look like those big cats that you see, those cartoon cats. So, well, I don't know. I guess that's what they look like. But it is. So then he walks into the room, and it's like an annual checkup. My wife and I go every year. And he says, "So what can I do for you?" Well, I thought he knew I was there for a checkup.
Yeah.
Well, my response was, "I don't know. What do you think you can do for me?" That wasn't the right answer. So then he just kind of stared at me, and I kind of stared at him. He stared at me. I stared at him, and then he went on with the thing. But he had no sense of humor. But I wasn't trying to be smart.
Yeah.
He just said, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "I don't know. What can you do for me?" At least he didn't tell me I need to check my blood pressure. No, he just said, next time check your attitude at the door. No, I didn't. No, he didn't say that. Okay, so what are we doing? So next week, where are we recording next week? Do you know?
I don't know yet.
Well, I'll tell you what might be a good idea. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's apparently a coffee shop in Martinsburg, and there's a Thai restaurant.
Yep.
And my wife and Tracy, who's the senior warden, by the way, at St. Thomas's, and they're going to be up in Michigan, in Stony Lake, enjoying up there along Lake Michigan. And so next week, my wife's away. I thought if I come over to go across the river,
come on over.
I'll get my visa. All right, I have a passport, so I'll come over across the river, and we'll set up and we'll bring the equipment in, have coffee or whatever way you want to do it, and Thai restaurant.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds
good. On the road next week in Martinsburg at the Community Coffee Shop on Burke Street.
Are we going to record there?
If you want to.
Can we do that?
He said, yeah. He said, come
Okay.
on, anytime.
Now, his wife a Lutheran pastor?
Presbyterian.
Presbyterian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's a Presbyterian pastor, and we're going to record it in the coffee shop.
Yep.
Boy, if they're in for a treat. Before I do sign off, I got to tell you, I think I told you this. And this is in my sermon on Sunday. I had the opportunity to go to a girls' Bible camp to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted pastors from different traditions. And here I am. I was, as Episcopal Priest, I was invited to go speak at this girls' Bible camp. Girls between the ages 7 to 13 out in Smithsburg, Maryland. It was pretty neat. I think it was asked over a month ago, and the theme for what was being called, and they wanted me to read 2 things about John the Baptist, which I did. So I showed up dressed up like John the Baptist.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a handful of locusts. I was eating them and had honey through my beard. No, I didn't do that. I showed up like this. But guess it was a Mormon church.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep. They asked. They were, and the girls had really good questions.
Yeah.
And basically how our conversation went into was helping others. And those are homeless.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one girl said, and mental illness is a big issue in this country. And the one girl said, and this is how she said it, why can't our president and our mayors do something about it? Why aren't they doing more to help the homeless and those with mental illness? And I said, that's a very good question. And we need to listen to our younger people.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I can come up with that, I said, well, sometimes people in power, they get these blinders on, and sometimes they other things in front of them, they don't see
everything.
They don't see everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yep.
thought that was pretty interesting. I just
Yeah.
want to just throw it out, since I was out doing some talking to other people, and of course I did bring up the thing about the Southern Baptist Council saying women should have no position in power. And I said, thank goodness we're in the Episcopal Church.
Yeah.
Yep. And to the point, Elevation Church, which was aligned with them, they sent them a letter immediately, said, we are disenfranchised with you.
Yep, you're out.
Not next week, immediately. And
Yep.
so I just want to say thanks be to God that we recognize that women are people and do have places in leadership in the church. And as we have here at St. Thomas's, here in 2 weeks, Bishop Carey, well, not yet. Actually, that's how I said to her a couple weeks ago or a month ago or so when she was at our clergy conference in our Dawson Retreat Center. I didn't have to say anything to her because we're still she's a priest, I'm a priest. So I said, Bishop Carey, and she turned around, but she gets consecrated on September 16th in National Cathedral. But here on July 30th at our 11 a.m. service at St. Thomas Episcopal Church in Hancock, Bishop Carey Schofield Broadbent, our Bishop co-jury-elect, is going to be there, and we're really looking forward to that. Right, Tracy?
We are looking forward to it, and we have lunch all planned.
Oh, great.
Lunch all
There
planned.
we go. So we're going to finish this up, and I will be in Martinsburg next week. You'll follow up with that. We'll
Yep.
set up, and I won't bring the blinding lights. I'll bring the studio lights.
Sounds good.
They're more for the outside lights, but I was going to wear my sunglasses for this recording, but actually I probably could have wore a welder's mask and done this as well. Okay. All right, closing wait a minute,
prayer.
whose turn is it?
I think you prayed last week. I think.
Yeah, I did. I lost a toss. And I got the blessing.
The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for your mercy, guidance, and protection. Sometimes we need encouragement when we see evil or unfair things happening around us. Please give us the strength to be patient and hopeful. Help us to follow your example so that we will be tolerant and merciful. May we be vigilant in protecting your church, our families, and our daily lives from the influence of those who proclaim your name but do not follow your word. Give us wisdom to discern what we should do in situations that require making difficult decisions that influence our lives as Christians. Amen.
Amen. And until next week, the peace of God which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in knowledge and love of God and His Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. The blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be upon you today, remain with you always. We'll see you in the coffee shop on the next show.
Yes.
Coffee
Community
shop.
coffee.
All
See
right.
ya.